Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
It's the monster from the swamps, Regis Rougarou Prograis.
Hey, what's up? This is King Carlos Molina, former IBF World Champ.
This is Michael, the Bounty Hunter, 2012 Olympian and your people's champ.
This is Charlie Edwards, flyweight champion of the world.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 217 of the BoxHard Podcast. I am your host, Joey Coastman. I'm joined by Mr. Ayaz Sumra. Ayaz, how you doing?
I'm good, Joe. Yourself?
Very good, my friend. Very good. Let's dive straight into the review part of the show. This is the BoxHard Podcast. This is the same show that has brought you 75 world champions in 216 shows. 75 different world champions. The most international boxing podcast on the net. But yeah, little plug there. Let's dive straight into the review part. We're going to start here at the Hangar in Costa Mesa, California last week in USA, of course. A shock, in my opinion, over here, an upset. This is the first result I'm going to read of a weekend packed full of unexpected outcomes, I guess. Not necessarily always did the underdog win when I'm saying that, but I mean, even when the favourite won, the favourite won in circumstances which no one really saw. But let's start though. Yves Ulysse Jr., a guy who had it in him to beat Cletus Seldin very handily. 18-1 was he going into the fight. Obviously, the one loss was real controversial. The way he beat Cletus Seldin, who's a good fighter, made me think, do you know what? He has got a lot of promise, Yves Ulysse, and I just liked his attitude and stuff. I had him down as possibly a future world champion. Anyway, he got in there with Ismael Barroso, a man we know really well. The fight was at 140 pounds, which I think means that Barroso perhaps moved up. I want to just double check that before I decide on it, just to make sure. Barroso, well, no, he's been kind of fighting at like 138, stuff like that, in his last few fights. So I guess, yeah, he's pretty much a 140-pound fighter now. Obviously, he was at 135 when he boxed Crolla a few years ago. But Yves Ulysse Jr., a guy that I thought would be able to deal with him, well, it wasn't to be. He lost unanimously over 12 rounds. That was 7-5 on one or two cards, and very wide. I think it was 9-3 on another card. Barroso actually had a cut eye himself in the 12th and final round, but beaten very soundly there, Yves Ulysse Jr. That was a result I had to look at and do a double take almost. Couldn't believe it. Also on the card, Jason Quigley, friend of the show now, 17-1, a KO for him in 3 rounds against Abraham Cordero, who's now 13-5 with 2 draws. Moving out now to the ICC Exhibition Centre in Sydney, New South Wales, Australia. Over here we got to see Tim Tszyu move to 15-0. It was a TKO for him in 4 rounds against Jack Brubaker, who's now 16-3 with 2 draws. That one was for the IBF Australasian Super Welterweight title. The corner threw the towel in for that finish there. Brubaker was taking some serious punishment. The towel came in. So Tim Tszyu 15-0. Bit of a grudge match that one was. Also on that same evening, I believe it was, but in the 2300 arena in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, USA. Friend of the show, Mykal Fox, we will be speaking to him at some point later on in the show. He's now 22-1. It was a unanimous decision win for him over 8 rounds against John Arellano. Very wide on the cards there. I think there may have even been a knockdown. I'll have to ask Mike, because the scorecards were quite weird having a look at them now. 80-71 times 2, so that would indicate a complete shutout over 8 rounds plus a knockdown for Mykal Fox. But then the other card was 78-73. So I'll have to ask what happened there, because I haven't actually seen it. Mykal Fox, unbelievable that he makes 140 being about 6'4", and John Arellano, I think he was previously at lightweight or whatever, but he also boxed. He's about 6'2" as well, so big guys for their weight. Moving out now, though, to the Bell Centre in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Once again, this is another one where, in my opinion, it didn't go the way we thought it'd go. David Lemieux, former world champion, now 41-4 inside 45 fights. He took on Maxim Bursak, obviously, a decent fighter to a certain level. He was supposed to box Billy Joe Saunders. The fight never ended up happening. Anyway, it went down as a split decision win for David Lemieux. I think David Lemieux was on the canvas twice during the fight, which I'm absolutely shocked about. Bursak, I think, was down once as well himself, if I'm not mistaken, but unbelievable there, just to see that, a split decision win for David Lemieux. I can't believe Bursak was able to take the punches. I can't believe Lemieux was on the floor, but a lot of people screaming that was a bit of a hometown decision there and that Bursak perhaps deserved to win that fight there. No belt on the line. Moving out now to Mexico, the Auditorio GNP Seguros in Puebla. Over here there was a couple of belts on the line. Let's start here with the top of the bill, Emmanuel Navarrete, now 30-1, a WBO World Super Bantamweight title defense against Francisco Horta, who's now 20-4 with one draw. It was a TKO in the fourth round there for Navarrete, no real shock there. Jerwin Ancajas also on the bill. He's now 32-1 with two draws. He defended successfully his IBF World Super Flyweight title against Miguel Gonzalez. He was able to TKO Gonzalez in the sixth round. Gonzalez now 31-3. And then moving out to Saudi Arabia at the Diriyah Arena. Let's start with the undercard. We have to start with the undercard. I'm going to start here with Diego Pacheco, a young prospect. He got a first round knockout against Selemani Saidi, who's now 20-16 with five draws. Diego Pacheco 8-0. Also on the bill, we got to see Mohamed Majidov, a guy that holds a win in the amateurs over Anthony Joshua. He boxed Tom Little. He was able to TKO Tom Little in 2 rounds. It was a real mismatch, really, when you think about it. Tom Little now 10-8. I still want to see him fight Dave Allen, to be honest, but I mean, yeah, it was what it was. We knew what was going to happen. It was a foregone conclusion. When Tom Little went down, to his credit, he got straight back up and he just thought to himself, forget this, I'm just going to swing, and he really did swing from the rafters. He just went for it. It was real ballsy because he was hurt, he was down, and he just got back up, fought fire with fire, but he ended up getting staggered a few times, I think is fair to say. I'm not sure he was going to go down, but a few times he got hit. I'm not sure if he was off balance or what, but he just looked a bit unsteady. He got staggered a couple of times, and the referee just jumped in. And to be honest, I felt like the referee did him a favour there, so no complaints from me. Also on the bill, Dillian White got a win over Marius Wack. A lot of people saying it wasn't impressive. I actually missed it, and people are begging me to not watch it back, so I'm not going to. Apparently it was a dreadful performance. Dillian White returned, though, and he's now 27-1, a 10-round unanimous decision against Marius Wack, who's never really in a good fight. Can't really say that about too many heavyweights. He's now 35-6. Ayaz, did you watch any of the Dillian White fight? Was he bad to watch, or did you not see it?
I did not see that fight as well myself.
Perhaps we've both made a good decision by missing that one, though, by what we're hearing. Filip Hrgovic moved to 10-0. It was a TKO for him over 3 rounds against Eric Molina, former world title challenger ×2, I believe he is. Wasn't it Wilder and Joshua? I think so. Anyway, he's now 27-6. Another loss for Molina. It was for the WBC International Heavyweight title. To be honest, from what I saw of that fight, I mean, Molina was actually getting hit in the back of the head. I mean, I think he did try and milk it time and time again, but the referee wasn't having any of it. And I felt like it was a little bit harsh. And the final punch, I mean, he clearly got hit in the back of the head and he went down, and the referee again just started counting and ended up counting him out. So, I mean, a little bit controversial, but, it was what it was. There was no real sympathy from the ref, who I thought had a bit of a bad performance, honestly. But, I mean, he was probably looking for a way out anyway, Eric Molina. Friend of the show, though, I wish him all the best. And also on the bill, Alexander Povetkin, 35-2. He's now got a draw. He drew with 18-1, now 18-1 with one draw. Michael Hunter, friend of the show. A split draw. One judge giving it to Hunter by 2 rounds. That was the Italian judge. One judge giving it to Povetkin by 2 rounds. That was the Russian judge. Of course, he did the Russian a favour. And then the final card that came in, the American Glenn Feldman didn't do Michael Hunter a favour. He didn't do a favour for his fellow native like we saw the Russian do for Povetkin. He gave it a draw, 114-114, so a split draw there. The wrong decision in my honest opinion. I'm going to talk through the fight just here. The first round was quite a shocking round. It was a brilliant start from Hunter. It was all-out aggression. It wasn't what I expected, if I'm being honest. You know, he came straight out. Literally, the first punch he threw was thrown with intent. He was nailing Povetkin time and time again with a 1-2. You know, straight shots. The right hand would travel quite a long way, actually, quite some distance, and it was straight. It was dead straight. So he would double up. You know, he would throw the left and then straight behind it, boom, with a right. It was boom, boom, 1-2. Real good stuff. You know, the speed of Hunter was troubling Povetkin straight away. He perhaps might have caught Povetkin cold, I don't know. But, you know, Povetkin's legs dipped twice in that round, and I couldn't believe the start that Hunter had made. I thought, wow, is he gonna get him out here early? Because that would be real impressive. The second round, once again, Hunter was able to pick his shots nicely. The skills of Hunter... perhaps they don't always look pretty on the eye to everyone, but it's clever stuff. His ring generalship is right up there with the best heavyweights in that division, you know. Povetkin did hit Hunter with a big right hand that worried me for a second in that second round, but for me it was another Hunter round. Some people gave that one to Povetkin though, I believe. The third round, Povetkin, I felt might have nicked it, but it was a real close round. I mean, no one really did anything big. It was quite a scrappy round, to be honest. Round 4, again, another real close round. I felt like it could have gone either way, but I felt Hunter might have just pinched it. The fifth round, Hunter actually got nailed with a big right hook from Povetkin. Povetkin caught him with the same shot twice. It was a finishing shot of a combination. He'd load up with his left hook, which we know, you know, he really does load up with that left hook. But he was when he was throwing a combination, he was kind of ending it on a right hook, and it was almost as if Hunter had been reading his previous combinations and never expected it to end on a right hook. It was almost like that happened because he kept getting hit with the last punch of the combination, which always was a big right hook. It was like he didn't expect it, and Hunter actually was rocked, and the ropes may have held him up. Honestly, if I'm being completely honest, I feel like the ropes might have just held him up there. He may have gone down, but of course a knockdown wasn't scored, and thank God for that because I'm biased. But I'm trying to remain not biased because I did that when I was scoring it. You know, Hunter held on straight away. You know, he grabbed hold of Povetkin, and he got through the round. I mean, Hunter's nose started to bleed at that point. Povetkin, for me, won that round. So I had it 3-2 to Hunter after 5, but again, I felt like some people could have easily had it 3-2 to Povetkin. The 6th round for me was a Hunter round. You know, he got back to his boxing, thank God for that, and he really utilised his jab, which he perhaps neglected in the previous 2 or 3 rounds. He started to jab very nice to the head and body. Brilliant jab to the body Michael possesses, honestly. It's a shot that you don't see heavyweights throw. It's Mayweather-esque, but he's a big guy. Round 7, for me, a Michael Hunter round, a good action round. You know, Hunter started off boxing smartly again in the beginning, and when he did that, Povetkin was second best 24/7. But then Povetkin landed a good right hook on Hunter, and Hunter, I think, hurt Povetkin as well to the body, and he had some big moments. He was teeing off on Povetkin. In round 8, I gave it to Hunter once again. It was a bit of a nothing round. I mean, the tidiest stuff I felt came from Michael Hunter rather than Povetkin. So again, I had it either 6-2 or 5-3 to Hunter. And then going into the final 4 rounds, round 9, a close round. Could have gone either way. Povetkin looked really tired. Again, though, I still felt Hunter might have just done enough to grab it. Round 10, definitely a Hunter round. He was just a bit too cute for Povetkin. Povetkin was really tired at that point. Hunter wasn't really overexerting himself. The round wasn't one-sided as such, but he just did enough to win and win clearly. And he landed some great body shots again in that 10th round. The 11th round was a massive round for Michael Hunter. Again, the straight right hand paid off for him, and Povetkin showed an unbelievable chin. I couldn't believe he was still on his feet at the end of the round. Hunter needed to keep something in the tank though for the final round. I felt like he couldn't afford to fry it all away and pour all of his energy into the 11th round, because Povetkin didn't go anywhere, and you knew Povetkin had to give it his all, or you certainly thought he had to give it his all to try and be in with a chance of having a close couple of cards perhaps. But little did we know he was already winning the fight on one card, and and it was very close on the other card. And in the 12th round, it was a scrappy round. Povetkin came on strong in the last round. Hunter seemed to tire. I think I gave that last round to Povetkin. So, yeah, that round there probably lost Hunter the fight, unfortunately. I'm not saying he shouldn't have done what he did in round 11. He did what he had to do. He's a smart fighter. He knows a lot more about what he's got in his tank than I do and stuff like that. But in that 12th round, Povetkin had to just go balls to the wall, really, because he, in everyone's eyes, he was losing, apart from the Russian judge. And because he won that round, that's probably... I haven't seen the actual scorecards from the judges round by round. If anyone's got them, send them in to me, please, on Twitter, at BoxHard Podcast. But I think where Povetkin won that last round, that's where the draw card from Glenn Feldman, that's probably where you give him that round and it ended up being a draw. And then, obviously, that's what ended up being a split draw. If he'd have won that last round, I'm sure Glenn Feldman would have probably had it to Hunter. But yeah, good stuff. Where do both men go? I'll come to you first, Ayaz, actually. I'm sure you've seen the fight. If you want to say a couple words on it, of course, take it away. But also, where do both men go from here? Povetkin, 40 years of age now.
It was a good fight. For me, Hunter should have won the fight. Where do both men go? For me, I think they should do a rematch. Obviously, there's a talk about Anthony Joshua fighting next to the UK. I think he should be on that undercard. And obviously, I think Mike Hunt should get his revenge and win, and hopefully do and get the W on his record.
Yeah, I would definitely welcome the rematch. It was a tough fight though, and I just felt bitterly disappointed. Not with Mykal, but with the judge. The judges. The Russian judge was absolutely abysmal. The American judge, like I say, didn't do Mike any favours. I felt like he had it way too close. My final scorecard I was torn on a round. So I either had it 8-4 to Mike or 9-3. And I swear on my life, I was trying to be as fair as could be. Again, I've said it there. There was a couple rounds which could have gone either way, but I gave them to Povetkin. So that's me being fair. But, it was what it was. These things happen. And I want to see Mike perhaps pushed on, because I think the majority of people, including all the Sky commentary, everyone ringside, they all had Michael Hunter winning. No one I've seen, not even one person I've seen on Twitter or anywhere, had the fight to Povetkin. So for me, Mike won the fight. I want to see him pushed on. And it was some kind of eliminator, I believe, for the WBA. So I'd like to see them try and push him up in the rankings, even though he officially didn't get the win. But I want to see him in some bigger fights. But yeah, the rematch, I think he probably would want it again, because Mike is crazy in a good way. But yeah, if it were to happen again, I think he wins in better fashion. I think he doesn't get too involved. I think when he was boxing, he was just in control. And as long as he doesn't give Povetkin a chance to mix it with him, then he wins, for me, quite clearly. So, we'll leave that one there. All the best to Mike going forward. And let's now talk about the main event, Ayaz. We went to the predictions on it. We also went to the predictions on Hunter Povetkin, by the way. Let me just fetch them. I went with Hunter points, so did you, Ayaz, so did the listeners. It was unanimous, but it wasn't on the scorecards. It was a draw, so no points gained there. And then the main event, me and you, Ayaz, both went with Ruiz to win by knockout. The listeners went with Joshua to win by knockout. We were all wrong. It went to points. No one predicted that had happened. Therefore, no points gained this weekend with our prediction league. But the fight itself, Andy Ruiz was really bad in my honest opinion. He loses all of his belts, now 33-2. Anthony Joshua now 23-1, obviously a two-time heavyweight champion now. And Andy Ruiz has lost his first fight very clearly, because that other loss was real close, could have gone either way. This is the first time he's lost evidently, hands down. It wasn't even close. So he's got to be disappointed with himself and all the decisions he'd made going into the fight. But just talk me through it, Ayaz. What did you make of it?
It wasn't the greatest fight, to be honest. We all thought he's going to be a knockout, or Andy Ruiz knockout, or Joshua knockout. For me, Joshua reminded me of Vladimir Klitschko with the jab, and hold, jab, grab. Andy Ruiz came in overweight, did not look the greatest, said that he didn't train. For me, it's just a one-sided fight. Couldn't really say much about it. Joshua reclaimed his belts, but it looks like when Andy Ruiz won the fight, he made a lot of money, partied, and didn't train well. And this is what happened to him. Obviously, Joshua wanted to keep it safe and just went to distance, won the fight on points.
Yeah, it seems like Andy Ruiz really shot himself in the foot, and I'm gonna discuss a couple of topics surrounding the fight after I just give my quick breakdown here. The first round, it was a good start from Anthony Joshua. He was boxing smartly. He was actually moving his feet really well. He was picking his shots great. He kept his distance. He seemed extremely focused. He won the round, and he even cut the left eye of Ruiz with a right hand. I mean, Ruiz didn't land anything really in the first round, so a great start there from AJ. The second round, another Joshua round. He, I think, was cut on his left eye himself, but again, I was impressed with Joshua. He stayed disciplined. There was one point where he did trade, but he quickly stopped himself from getting too involved. It was real disciplined stuff. The third round, another AJ round. The question was, though, could he keep the discipline and box to a defensive-minded game plan for the whole 12 rounds? It was yet to be seen. We'd never seen anything like that from him before. So for me, he won the first 3 rounds. Round 4, another round for Joshua. Ruiz did finish strong. He was able to get inside at the back end of the round. It was encouraging signs for him, but he didn't really waste any energy. I felt like even though Anthony Joshua was winning the rounds, he wasn't really putting a dent in Ruiz, and therefore Ruiz was willing to kind of let the fight go late, because he probably was thinking AJ is going to tire late on, and AJ was so concentrated, the mental pressure that he was under, you felt like it would tire at some point. He'd tire at some point with all that pressure on him, and the concentration and stuff like that. You felt like he'd fade. But Ruiz perhaps was banking on that, but it didn't really come. The 5th round, Joshua again was still in full control. No signs at that point that he was tiring or slipping in concentration. The rounds were starting to slip away from Ruiz. He was already approaching the point in the fight where he'll need a stoppage to win. Perhaps again that was probably the game plan all along. He probably didn't plan to win on points anyway. Round 6, a great round for AJ. I really liked his demeanour at that point in the fight. His jab was exquisite. It was a perfect performance from him. Going into the second half of the fight, again, round 7, Joshua won that round for me. Let go of the right hand a little bit more than usual in terms of his previous rounds on that night. And when the pair traded, both men would miss the big shots. So Joshua was doing well to not get hit when trading. It was all Joshua though, and I couldn't really express enough at that point how smart he'd been while boxing in there. The 8th round for me, I actually gave that one to Ruiz. AJ seemed to abandon the smart tactics for whatever reason. He got wobbled definitely in that round, and I was thinking, could it all be about to unravel for Anthony Joshua after a very smart fight? Was he tiring? Was he losing concentration? It was going to be an interesting 9th round, but in the 9th round, AJ came out. He landed a quality shot in the round. I can't remember which punch it was, but he seemed like he got a little bit too excited, and I think he thought Andy was there for the taking after he landed that good shot. I think it was a right hand. It must have been a right hand. And, he tried to go for Andy, but then he came off worse. And, it just kind of reminded me, every time AJ would trade with Ruiz, he always comes off second best. Ever since the first knockdown in the first fight back on June the 1st, where Ruiz got knocked down, that was the only ever time where Joshua got the better of a trade-off. Ever since Ruiz got back off the canvas, every single time they'd trade, Ruiz always would get the better of it. So, they traded there, and then Ruiz got the better of it again. But, AJ won that round. It was just a moment that Ruiz had. The 10th round, another AJ round. I had it 9-1 after 10 rounds for AJ. I think some people gave Ruiz 2 rounds in the entire fight. I only gave him 1. Round 11 for me, another AJ round, and then round 12, another AJ round. It was just... it was what it was. One point I want to arise, and again, I said I'm going to speak about a couple points here. I remember a lot of people were saying that Fury against Klitschko was one of the worst heavyweight fights ever. But for me, this one was way more boring. All in all, I felt a little bit sad to lose out on £25 because I paid for the pay-per-view, you know. There was a couple of mismatches, Molina versus Hrgovic, Little versus Majidov. The bad decision in the Hunter fight left me with a sour taste in my mouth, and the shocking performance from Dillian White, which I actually missed, thank God, and then topped off by a real boring action kind of performance. There wasn't, you know, it was quite actionless, wasn't it, really? After the first fight just made us think, wow, we need to see that one again. What's going to happen? AJ's going to get put to sleep again, many people thought, and he didn't lose a round, and he didn't really risk it at any point. And I respect that from a boxing standpoint, 100%. But from an entertainment standpoint, it was one of the most boring fights I've seen. We did all expect fireworks, you know. They do often say that rematches are never as good as the first fight, and that's not always the case, but it certainly was the case in that fight there. But yeah, I just want to give a lot of credit to Rob McCracken. You know, he got a lot of disrespect after the first fight. There was talk that AJ should leave him. I think Rob McCracken did a tremendous job, you know, getting AJ disciplined, working out the game plan. And like I say, no one has ever beaten Andy Ruiz in that much of a dominant fashion, certainly since he's been a professional. Yeah, it was underwhelming from Ruiz, you know, very bad in terms of the partying and stuff like that. He's completely, you know, he's completely to blame, really, for the poor performance. And his excuses afterwards weren't good enough. You know, you can't just say, oh, I've been partying, I haven't been training, I've been training myself only for 3 months and stuff like that. You know, he's really, really perhaps lost the hunger for boxing. You know, all that money he won, he's been paid here for a second time. He never has to box again. So in some ways, he's a bit of a legend. But, you know, he really could have won that fight, and that would have been the end of it. He could have gone and boxed Deontay Wilder for millions once again. AJ did prove to us that he can box to a plan. I mean, I know I wrote that on Twitter. A lot of people said, hey, what about the Parker fight? He boxed to a plan in the Parker fight. For me, he did, but he gave up many rounds. I mean, that one, if I remember correctly, I think Parker probably won about 5 rounds or something like that, if I remember correctly. And the referee was literally breaking them every single time Parker got in close. So, you know, for this fight here, I don't think the referee did AJ that many favours. I think he was breaking them when they got close, but not badly. It wasn't like, oh, this is blatant, ridiculous referee, and I didn't think the referee did too bad. And AJ wasn't holding every single time. I know that you touched on it. It was a little bit Klitschko-esque, but it wasn't excessive. I don't think there was a point where you could say, hey, the referee's got to take a point off. Whereas in the Parker fight, I think he was holding too much, Anthony Joshua. So it can be a skillful thing to hold at the right time, but not excessively. But again, boxing fans, you know, they do have short memories, and I'm not saying that, you know, directly to the listeners here. I'm saying it about myself as well. We all have short memories. Mine's probably shorter than everyone's because my memory in general is absolutely dreadful. But we've got short memories, and we look at this, well, not me in particular, but some people look at this and say, Anthony Joshua, oh, he'd get knocked out by Wilder. Listen, I thought he'd get knocked out by Wilder anyway, ever since quite a while now I've had that thought. I can't remember when I changed my mind. I thought originally that AJ would win that fight should it happen, but now I think Wilder knocks him out, and it's not just because of that performance there, but a lot of people now are saying it based on that performance. For me, he actually showed us another side of his game, you know. He can box disciplined for 12 rounds, and he never really looked tired, you know. He moved excellently. His feet were tremendous. I've never seen him move like that. He was glancing around like, you know, not like a heavyweight. He was glancing around like a middleweight, you know, and that was impressive. So he showed us another side of his game that we've never seen before. If anything, that makes him better because he's got 2 ways to box. He can bang people out, or he can just box very smart and box on the outside and keep dancing and moving. We didn't know he could do that. He's got that in his locker, and for me, that doesn't mean he's any less of a fighter than he was before the Ruiz fight, you know. He, if anything, has got another side to his game, as I've said a couple times in the last minute. So yeah, I don't think people should hate on him based on that performance. I think he won clear. He didn't get the knockout, but so what? You know, it's not all about knockouts in boxing. Look at Floyd Mayweather. It's about boxing smart, and he did that. Whether it was boring or not is another thing. Yeah, I still think, you know, Fury and Wilder sit above him there, and obviously the ring being as big as what it was absolutely huge. I mean, that was crazy that Andy Ruiz actually agreed to a ring size like that, but that's his own problem there. But yeah, again, just I don't want to keep banging on about Fury, but his win against Klitschko for me was way more exciting. But all in all, AJ did box very clever, but the fight from an entertainment standpoint, it didn't live up to expectations. It wasn't as dramatic as the first fight at all, nowhere near. So yeah, it is what it is. But back to the other fights, we are going to leave Saudi Arabia and now go to the Polideportivo Vicente Trueba in Torrelavega, Cantabria, Spain. Over here, Kiko Martinez, former world champion, picked up win number 40. He's got 9 losses and 2 draws. It was a points win over 10 rounds against Alexander Caceres, who's now 16 and 11. Also on the bill, Sergio Garcia, the guy that slayed the big cheese, Ted Cheeseman. He's now 31 and 0. It was another defense of his EBU European Super Welterweight title against Fouad El Masoudi. That one was on points over 12 rounds. It was a bit of a mismatch, really, on paper. Masoudi 3-3 in his last 6 fights going into that fight. It's another loss for him. He's now 17 and 12. How on earth did he get in position to fight for the European title? I'll never know. And the final bill to mention at the Barclays Center, Brooklyn, New York, USA. This one was on Showtime. I had to stream it. It was on Premier Sports as well, but you had to pay for that. I had a brilliant stream, by the way. The stream I had was crystal clear, HD. It didn't give me any lag or whatever at all. And to be honest, if every stream could be as good as that one, I'd never pay for a pay-per-view. It was unbelievable. This one was, by the way, promoted by TGB Promotions, which of course is Tom Brown, and Lions Only Promotions, the new promotional outfit from Jamel and Jamal Charlo. I actually think it was Jamel, who wasn't boxing on the bill, who actually played the promoter role of his twin brother's card. So very interesting. But anyway, Jamal Charlo picked up a win. It's now 30-0 for him. TKO win in the 7th round over Dennis Hogan, the very tough and gutsy former 154 fighter. So is Jamal Charlo, to be honest. But yeah, Jamal Charlo was just too good for Dennis Hogan. He's a tough guy, Hogan. He really is. He's right up there with some of the toughest guys in the middleweight division. I'd like to see him take on a Gabe Rosado or a Maciel Selecki, someone like that. That'd be a good fight for him. But yeah, Hogan was down in round 4 and round 7 where he was TKO'd. That one, of course, was for Charlo's WBC World Middleweight title. Moving down the undercard, just 2 fights to mention. Marlon Tapales, now 33-3. He was TKO'd in 11 rounds by Ryosuke Iwasa, 26-3. That one was for the interim IBF World Super Bantamweight title. Tapales was down in the 3rd round and that 11th round where he was TKO'd. And Iwasa really showed up. I think Iwasa's the guy that TJ Doheny beat. They're talking about perhaps getting that on. They'd like a rematch there. Doheny, he'd like the rematch with Iwasa. And also on the undercard, a fight I was thoroughly looking forward to. Chris Eubank Jr. boxed for the interim WBA World Middleweight title against Mati Korobov. I felt like, Korobov was worth a punt on points. Well, freak injuries happen, few and far between, but when they happen, especially on the big stage, it is just so shocking. It's happened time and time again. I remember like Terry Flanagan against Jose Zepeda. This was pretty much the same kind of stuff. Mati Korobov, after the first round, he seemed okay. Then in the 2nd round, he dislocates his left shoulder, and that was it. So it ended with a TKO in 2 rounds for Chris Eubank Jr. So he's won the belt. He's now 29-2, but not the American debut he would have been hoping for. Mati Korobov, very, very unfortunate career I feel like he's had. Brilliant amateur, turned over, tricky southpaw. He was knocking people out, I think, early on in his career. He was winning the fight against Andy Lee till he got knocked out. He probably should have got a win against Jamal Charlo. He lost controversially on points, and then here, another big fight for him as he's getting up there in age, and he loses because he dislocates his shoulder. So he has been plagued with bad luck. Hopefully a quick turnaround for him, or that could perhaps be the end. We want to see Chris Eubank Jr. perhaps moved up, and they're talking about him and Jamal Charlo. I'd like to see that. Definitely, I'm all for that one. But that is it, though, for the review part of the show. Just before we wrap up part 1, the final thing to do is to welcome our very first guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the top super lightweight contender. It is, of course, Mr. Mykal Fox. Mike, welcome back on the show.
Thank you for having me once again. Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure, Mike. So we last spoke back in August. I think it was just before the Udi Bernardo fight, actually. Just a word on that one for those that didn't see it. How did that one go for you, Mike?
We got a unanimous decision, 10-round, pretty much landslide, shutout, 100-90. Everything went smooth. Everything was clicking on all cylinders. Everything just good camp, great fight. Everything just went great.
And again, you've been pretty active because you just grabbed another win on the weekend against John Arellano. Talk us through that one.
Yeah, that was the 8-rounder just to finish up the year in Philadelphia. I put him down. I sort of knocked down. He was tough though. He was tough. He got up fighting harder than he did when before he got knocked down. So shout out to Johnny Arellano.
Yeah, because I've seen the scorecards, 80-71 twice. Now that would obviously indicate that you won every round and scored a knockdown. But then there was another scorecard, 78-73, and I was thinking, what on earth happened there? So yeah, I'm guessing that judge must have given Arellano 2 rounds and something like that. Anyway, it was a bit confusing when I read it.
Yeah. But he came to fight. He did come to fight. So I figured 2 rounds. He probably could have got 2 rounds somewhere. And I mean, I watched the fight a couple of times. We exchanged. I took a few shots and on the way to my victory. So it wasn't too crazy.
Okie dokie. And of course, your brother Alantez, he's got a big fight coming up December 21st in London against Liam Williams. We had Alantez on last week's show. How do you see that one playing out, Mike? I'm sure you've done a bit of homework on Williams as well.
Yeah. Well, Liam Williams, he's tough, and he's got good names on his resume. I think if as long as Alantez uses his height the way he's supposed to, I think. I'm not gonna say he's gonna have an easy time in London, but it's gonna be easier for him to secure a win. The height difference, my brother's movement, and a good sharp jab. I think that'll give Liam Williams a lot of trouble. We are going into hostile territory, so we have every win. I mean, every round has to be decisive. And whether it goes the full distance or it ends early, regardless, he has to be decisive, especially actually if it goes to decision. So, we've just been working hard. Ted has been excited for this one. He's had plenty of time to prepare. With the last couple of fights have been on short notice, so I think you'll see a better Alantez Fox than we've seen recently. Not to say that he's looked bad, but if he thought he's looked good. He's hoping to look better than that.
Cannot wait for that one. Obviously, you're making the trip over as well. You're gonna get a big thick jacket before you come.
Yeah. I hope I got a couple coats, man. So I got one. We get some cold winters over here. So on our side of America, we get some cold winters. So I think I'll be fine.
And I want to get your reaction to Anthony Joshua's win over Andy Ruiz Jr. on the weekend. Obviously, some people are criticising, some people aren't. How was his win perceived over there in the States, Mike?
I think it depends on just who you ask. I looked on Twitter. I follow a lot of different fighters. So I'm hearing some people say boxing clinic. Some people are saying he fought scared and whatnot. I mean, my thing is, and the adjustments he made, I mean, we all knew he couldn't go in the same way. We knew he couldn't go in the same way. So, what exactly did y'all want him to do? Those who said he fought scared. But, I mean, to me, I think he looked good. I think losing that weight actually helped because I think had he come back the same weight he was in the first fight, he wouldn't have been able to keep up the lateral movement for 12 rounds. So I think that weight loss really benefited him. He came in looking a lot slimmer, had more of a boxer's build and less of a kind of a. To me, he's always looked like a power lifter in there. That just had a good trainer. This time he actually looked like a boxer. This is the first time I actually seen Anthony Joshua moving lateral like that. It was impressive the way he made those adjustments. I like the way the fight went. I'm actually happy that Anthony Joshua won, just because right after his loss, everyone's like, yo, we need a new trainer, man. Somebody, tell him, man, you get a better trainer. He this, he that. He ain't gonna do it. He's a flash in the pan. I'm like, dude, you get one loss, that's where we going? After winning a gold medal and winning 3 of the 4 major titles, man, he's a flash in the pan. That's one hell of a flash in the pan. And he made what, $20 million, something like that, for that in that loss. That's not a flash in the pan to me. So I was happy for him. I was actually happy for him just to quiet everybody down, man. He did deserve that. I'm disappointed in how Andy Ruiz came back to the ring. With his weight gain and everything. It's disappointing because there's a rematch clause. That means business isn't concluded yet. You got one win over him. You got to do it one more time. That business hasn't been concluded. And I mean, you went on the victory tour, which you should have, big time in your life. But that victory tour has to end, and you get back to work. But I don't think it's the end of Andrew Ruiz either. I think Andrew Ruiz is still a dangerous fighter. He's still someone who has there's still a lot of big potential fights for him. This isn't the end of him. And, people are going to really ridicule him and get down and get on him the way they did Buster Douglas when he came back, when he gained a bunch of weight. So, it's just going to be a shot of redemption. His next fight is going to be redemption for him. I don't know. And I can honestly say I don't know if he'll get a rematch against Anthony Joshua. I think Eddie Hearn is like, you got past him. Let's move on. So I think he kind of drew that opportunity, but there's more fights to be made.
Yeah, for sure. It'd be interesting to see both men's next move. I think, I want to see Andy Ruiz back, in a big fight, because after he lost to Parker, he just disappeared off the face of the earth, and any other fight that he has after this one's going to be such a drop down in level in terms of the payday and stuff like that. I hope he doesn't disappear again. But since we last spoke, Mike, Regis Prograis and Josh Taylor unified their world titles. Of course, Taylor ended up getting the victory on the night. Do you identify Taylor as the best fighter at 140, or do you believe Jose Ramirez is? It's surely between those two.
Well, yeah, it's definitely between those two. If I had to choose, I like Josh Taylor's fight style a little better, but you gotta respect Jose Ramirez. It's hard for me to say, to be honest. I can't really decide between the two. They should just fight, and when the winner becomes undisputed, then there's no real debate. I think they're going to be a great fight though, because Josh Taylor, that was actually only the second time I've seen him fight, and I didn't. I really appreciate it. How he used his technical skills. He used his technical skills to really best Regis Prograis' athletic abilities. So I think that's what that fight kind of boiled down to: technical ability versus athletic ability. Josh Taylor, he kept it pretty simple. Using his jab, bring the left hand. When Regis Prograis tried to get inside, he showed that Regis that he wasn't going to let him muscle him around. So that was a damn good fight. And Josh Taylor's a damn good fighter.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, Ramirez has to get past Victor Postel, which won't be an easy task. That one takes place in China in February. To be honest, in my opinion, that one could go either way. And just finally, Mike, before I let you go, I'm asking this question to everybody in the month of December. Every December I do the same thing here. What is on your wish list for the following year? So for 2020, where can you be in a realistic world? Where can you be and where do you want to be this time next year?
I think this time next year, realistically, I want to be somewhere in the top 5, if not holding a mandatory position for a future title opportunity. If I have to be realistic, if I'm being realistic about it.
Yeah.
I think I got ranked in the top 15 in the WBA and the IBF. The realistic goal is just keep climbing the ladder. Of course I could do title, but I think throughout the history of my career, it's been a little tough to get fights. I think that's going to be a little tougher Guys who are ranked higher are going to want to keep their rankings, and they're going to want to ascend. They're not really going to want to fight. If I'm number 14 and they're number 9 or 10, they're going to be looking forward, not looking at who's behind them. So I think realistically, mandatory position or somewhere in the top 5. That's a realistic goal to me. Just climb the ladder. I can't. Yeah, world title. It's my year. I'm looking to have a big year in 2020, but realistically, I think a world title will come 2021.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
Early 2021, but not yet. But yeah, that's the realistic amount of optimism. Once by the second half of the year, I'm somewhere fighting for a bigger.
Yeah, I think that's a fair enough, realistic goal. I of course hope that you get there. It's not like you've had a bad 2019. In my opinion, you've had a absolutely fantastic 2019. I mean, I thought that you beat Ergashev, so that would mean that you'd be undefeated for the whole year. I know firsthand that you'd fight anyone. You and your brother will fight anyone, anywhere. So credit to you. And I'm not going to say you need to improve loads. I'm just going to say more of the same. That'll get you there, my friend. Believe me. And just finally, Mike, before I let you go, any closing words at all for our listeners? Just lastly from yourself.
Man, thank you to everyone who listens to the podcast when I'm on there. Thank you to everyone around the world. If I have any fans around the world, thank you for supporting me. Thanks to my team, and especially thanks to everybody back home where I built my foundation. I'm thankful to everybody. Thank you to Marshall Kaufman for putting time into me. Thank you to my advisor Michael Rao. I'm grateful for the year I've had. And I'm looking to making a big year out of 2020.
Absolutely. Listen, Mike, it's always great speaking with you, my brother. Like I say, we'll keep an eye out for what's next with you. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you real soon.
Man, thank you, man. I'm looking forward to it. And shout out to BoxHard Podcast. You always show love to me and my brother. You always show love to the family, so thanks a lot.
Okay, now it's time for part 2 on this week's show. We seem to have lost Ayaz midway through the show, so it will just be me carrying the entire show myself. But that's totally fine. Let's start, like I say, as per usual, with the news part of the show. We're going to start here with the news that the Dillian Whyte UCAD drug fouled test situation thing has all been sorted out now. I'm not quite sure the ins and outs. Of course, we never really do know the ins and outs with situations like this when it comes to boxing. Sadly, that's why it is quite a hard sport to follow and understand all the time. It really is. There's a lot of things we don't know, and even the insiders don't know. But yeah, that whole situation seems like it's cleared itself up, and as a result of that, Dillian Whyte has been reinstated as the WBC interim heavyweight world champion. So yeah, that's good stuff for him. Also, I should mention that Danny Garcia will be fighting Ivan Redkach. That one to take place on January 25th at the Barclays Center in New York. For me, it's another fight that Danny Garcia is having where, I mean, I don't want to call him a cherry picker, but he has had so many of these fights now against guys that are just nowhere near his level, It's like he has one big fight for maybe 5 or 6 small fights, like boxing the likes of Brandon Rios when he did. There's so many names, your Rod Salkers. He's just boxed so many guys that I've really not been interested in watching him against, but he does this once again here. Also, I should mention former world champion Rob Brandt. He is now linked up with Terence Crawford's trainer, that is Red Spikes and Brian Bomack. They now train Rob Brandt along with, of course, Jamel Herring and the rest of the gang. But anyway, Rob Brandt returns on the Hart versus Smith Jr. Jesse Hart, Joe Smith Jr. undercard. He takes on Habib Ahmed, who of course we saw in a big fight. Who did he box? He boxed someone recently, didn't he, for the was it for a world title? Definitely saw him against someone, can't remember who it was now. But yeah, that is it for that. I believe that is pretty much all the news that I have for you. Yes, it is. So let's move on now to the preview part of the show. We're going to start here at a card that actually takes place later today at the Pabellón de la Vall de Hebron in Barcelona, Catalonia, Spain. We're going to start here with friend of the show, former world champion David Avanesian, 25-3 with a draw. He's in a 12-rounder against Jose Del Rio, 29-8 with one draw. Also Sandor Martin, 35-2, a little bit of a padded record. He puts his EBU European super lightweight title on the line against our very own Joe Hughes, former holder of the belt. Both men have boxed and lost to Anthony Yigit. But it should be decent there in Spain. 17-4 with a draw, Joe Hughes. Moving out now to Friday, tomorrow, at the Manez in Vladikavkaz in Russia. Fedor Chudanov, 21-2, former world champion. He takes on Hassan Endam, obviously friend of the show, 37-4. That one actually may not be the best fight. Stylistically, it may not be the most action-packed fight, but I actually like fights like that. I think that's an evenly matched 50-50 type of fight. Moving out now to a venue called Planet Ice, my type of venue, in Cheshire, United Kingdom. Over here we get to see Kamil Sokolowski, 8-15 with two draws. He takes on Josh Sandland, who's 4-1 with a draw. This is some kind of heavyweight tournament. It's over 3 rounds, so I'm guessing the whole tournament unfolds and ends on the same evening. Jay McFarland, I think from Scotland, 10-4. He takes on the undefeated 5-0 Mark Bennett. Jonathan Palata, 7-0. He's in a 3-rounder, of course, against Danny Whitaker, 2-0. And a friend of the show, actually, Nick Webb, 13-2. He's in a 3-rounder against Chris Healy, who's 8-6. So not the most highest level guys, not even really English level guys, but that could be quite interesting. Obviously, Kamil Sokolowski, it's good to see him in a tournament of this kind, because he's a real dangerous journeyman. Moving out now to the Plovdiv in Bulgaria. Some strange venues. We're gonna start though with this one here for the vacant WBA International Cruiserweight title. Tervel Pulev, the brother of Kubrat, 14-0. He's in a 12-rounder against Deshaun Webster, who's 12-2 with 2 draws. Also on that undercard, Bogdan Dinu, former opponent of Kubrat Pulev, I believe, 18-2. No opponent just yet for him. Moving out now to Germany at the Congress Centrum in Nordrhein-Westfalen. Over here, again, another friend of the show, Mark Demori, former opponent of David Hay. He returns against Laszlo Seen. Mark Demori, 37-2 with 2 draws. He's in an 8-rounder against Laszlo Seen, 6-38. Bit of a mismatch there on paper. Come on, Big Mark. Moving out now to the Brentwood Centre in Brentwood, Essex. This is a great card, by the way. This is the card that again, that card I mentioned before with Kamil Sokolowski. That was an Ultimate Boxer card. This one here is the Golden Contract. Once again, an MTK format and a card by MTK once again, where we get to see, four blue balls and 4 red balls, I believe it is, in a bag. And if you pick out a blue ball, then you get to choose your opponent, and the blue balls are numbered 1 to 4. So if you pick out a blue ball, you got number 1, then another guy picks out number 2, number 3, number 4. They all take a position to the left, and then all the guys that pick out red balls take a position to the right, and then all the guys on the left, whoever's got the number 1 ball, he can choose anyone on the right, and it goes like that pretty much. So basically, the draw as it unfolded. Again, these are 10 round contests. We saw Stephen Ward, 12-0, take on Ricards Bolotniks, 15-5 with a draw. Tommy Philbin, 13-0. I think he took the first pick. He got Serge Michel, who's 9-1. Andre Sterling, 10-1. Of course, the one loss came to Craig Richards in what was a great fight. He takes on Liam Conroy, 17-5 with a draw. That's a brilliant fight there. But perhaps the best fight of all. And it happened because everyone else had picked everyone else. So these guys didn't choose to fight each other. The last guy, the guy that picked number 4, the 4th blue ball, he he didn't have options. It had to be the last remaining guy. No one had picked Jose Burton, perhaps the danger man of the tournament, 24-1, and Bob Ajasaf had to take him. He was the last guy. So 19-3 Bob Ajasaf, both men former British champions. That one could be a brilliant fight. It's unlike the 140 tournament that they did with O'Hara Davies, and we wanted to see the guys. There was a couple guys we wanted to see O'Hara Davies fight. Those fights didn't happen, and these ones, all the juicy fights are happening in the first round. So that is good for boxing fans this Saturday at the Brentwood Centre. Also on that bill, I should mention Dan Aziz, 10-0. He fights for the vacant English light heavyweight title against Lawrence Asuki, who's got a record of 9-0 with 1 draw. Also in a 6-rounder, but no opponent just yet, George Fox, 3-0, the son of Don Charles. That's a 6-rounder there. Moving out now to the York Hall in Bethnal Green, London, United Kingdom. Few fights to mention on the bill. We get to see the return of Harley Ben, 6-1. Not quite sure if he's boxed since his loss, where he lost to a guy who had never won a fight in his pro career. He's in a 6-rounder against MJ Hall, who's 2-47 with 2 draws. Also on the bill, former British champion Johnny Garton, 23-2 with a draw. He's in a 6-rounder against Jordan Granham, who's 5-67 with 2 draws. Moving out now to the Myth. I like that venue there. Is it even happening? The Myth in Maplewood, Minnesota, USA. Over there we get to see a former world champion and friend of the show, great guy, Caleb Truax. I think it's this week, since it's been about 2 years, I think, since he beat James DeGale at the Copper Box Arena. His record 30-4 with 2 draws, Caleb. He's in a 10-rounder against David Basajemivuli. Definitely saying that wrong, but anyway, he's got a record of 16-4 with a draw. That's over 10 rounds there. And the big one, I've really flown for it quite quickly here. The big one, of course, takes place at the MSG, the Madison Square Garden, New York, USA. I'm going to start here, I think, with the undercard. Let's start with a guy that was on last week's show, George Kambosos Jr., obviously the big sparring partner of Manny Pacquiao. He is in a 10-rounder. His record 17-0. He takes on former world champion Mickey Bay. A real crossroads fight. Could be a blinder, that one. Mickey Bay 23-2 with a draw. Certainly not done yet, Mickey Bay. Just been plagued with inactivity. He'd like to get back to being a bit more active. Michael Conlan, 12-0. He's in a 10-rounder against Vladimir Nikitin, 3-0. Both men undefeated. Both men have got that history from the Olympics where Nikitin got a very questionable decision over Michael Conlan, and that's what started the middle finger poses that Conlan likes to do now. Every picture he's in, he's got his middle finger up, and it all started there because he didn't like the decision, so he stuck his middle finger up, I think, at the judges and the officials, and rightly so. I make him right there. In Rio in 2016, he was wronged, but it's his chance here to make it all right again in the pros. And also on the bill, Richard Comey, 29-2. He puts his IBF World Lightweight title on the line against Teofimo Lopez, 14-0. Friend of the show, Teofimo Lopez. Richard Comey, a guy I've been trying to get on the show for a while. It almost happened, and it didn't in the end. So, yeah, perhaps we'll get him on at some point in the future. But I really like Richard Comey. Very, very dangerous fighter. Certainly a massive puncher. 26 KOs from 29 wins. His 2 losses were extremely, extremely controversial. Could have gone either way. Both split decision losses. He really could still call himself unbeaten because they were that close, Obviously, Teofimo Lopez, a guy that's on the up. He's still only 22 years of age, and he's in a rush, and I'm not quite sure why, but he's in a rush. He doesn't like to wait around. He's calling out the big names like the Lomachenkos. He really wants to fight Lomachenko, and he's his own man. He's a smart guy. We've had him on a couple times before. He really knows what he's talking about, and he's such a likable character. He's got that special something in him, he's just got that ingredient, I feel, personality-wise, I suppose, that I can just see him going right to the top. He's got something special about him, and I'm talking about his personality, but I can also match that with his fighting style. A real exciting fighter, and didn't have the best performance last time out. Everyone was criticising him. Well, let's see how he fares against Richard Comey, because if he knocks Richard Comey out like he predicts, I think he's been saying, put your money on me between rounds 1 to 6 or something like that. If he can deliver on that, then believe me, he is the real deal. But we seriously will find out the answer this Saturday night. Really looking forward to that one. And also Terence Bud Crawford, 35-0. Can he move to 36? He puts his WBO World Welterweight title on the line against the undefeated Egis Kavalauskas, 21-0 with a draw. That draw came to Ray Robinson in his very last fight. Again, Ray Robinson, the guy that also got a draw with our very own Josh Kelly. Just if you haven't heard of Kavalauskas, he also was able to beat up and stop David Avanesian, obviously the guy that beat Kerman Leharaga, the guy that we're hoping will fight Josh Kelly at some point, but he's fighting later tonight, Avanesian. I mentioned him a few moments ago. So Egis Kavalauskas is a very good fighter. I think he was quite a solid amateur as well, so it's going to be interesting. I think he will have a couple of moments here and there, but of course you can't really pick against Terence Crawford, who is arguably the pound-for-pound king right now in boxing. I'm not saying he is. I know it's between a couple of guys at the very top, but he's right up there, and no one can argue with that whatsoever. Yeah, we really should have gone to the predictions, I suppose, but we didn't. But we should have gone to them on the Comey fight and the Lopez fight, and of course the Crawford and Kavalauskas fight, but we didn't, unfortunately. So the Prediction League hopefully comes back real soon. But that is about everything for the preview part of the show. Thank you for sticking with me while I've been talking to myself here. It has been a little bit easier knowing that someone is listening to this. So thanks for sticking with me for the preview part of the show. Just before I wrap everything up, the final thing, as always, is to welcome our second and final guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former IBF Featherweight Champion of the world. It is, of course, Mr. Evgeny Gradovich. Evgeny, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hi. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you here, my friend. Glad to have you here. So, Evgeny, I want to ask you a typical boxing question to start an interview. How did you get into boxing in the very beginning?
Oh, actually, it's just I was probably 12 years old. My brother, I live in small city, it's like village, maybe 15,000 people, and my brother went to boxing, and one day I say, well, why not? I will go too, just because they for warm up boxers used soccer and basketball 30 minutes soccer, 30 minutes basketball, but I very liked soccer, that's why I go there. And after maybe 1 year in boxing, I already begin like not soccer. I begin like boxing, something like that. Actually, it looks like my younger brother bring me to my boxing.
Okay, interesting story. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
And obviously, you fought in the amateurs. What's your one kind of best moment of your amateur career, Evgeny?
Actually, I had no bad amateur career. So, and the best moment before I go to professional, my last tournament was World of the Cup of the world petroleum countries.
Okay.
And I won the tournament and go to professional.
Okay, so you won the amateur tournament just before turning professional, and obviously.
Yeah, just actually it was tournament was in December before Happy New Year. And in February, I already went to United States.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Evgeny, because obviously you made your professional debut in the United States. How come you left Russia and went to the States?
My friend from amateur career, Sergey Kovalev. You probably know who is it.
Yeah, probably.
Everybody knows. Yeah, in boxing. So we talked to him when he maybe fought 2 or 3 maybe fights. I said, oh, it's good idea, go to professional. I maybe will try to professional too, but maybe it will be in Russia. I don't know for sure. He said, well, actually, good idea. I will talk my manager, Edis Klimas, about you. I say, oh, it would be good. And after maybe couple weeks, my manager, Edis Klimas, called me and say, "You want a professional?" I say, "Yeah, let's do it." And he said, "Okay." He sent me tickets, everything, and I came to North Carolina. It was first destination in the United States, and training camp for Don Turner's training camp.
Okay, and obviously, you turned professional March the 19th, 2010. You boxed in Kentucky, and obviously it was on the same card as Sergey Kovalev. It didn't last very long, though. You got the guy out of there, first round knockout, Evgeny. What do you remember from your pro debut?
Actually, I remember that fight because it was first professional fight. I mean, because it's different. It's not amateur. Believe me. I feel it like a new person in boxing because it looks like different. Small gloves without headgear and a little bit confused for me. But yes, it was not so difficult opponent. But I won first round TKO. It was like good. Good step for professional.
Yeah,
it was good opponent for me, because if it would be little bit maybe stronger opponent, it would be maybe different fight.
Yeah, maybe. But like I say, a very good start, a first round.
Yeah, nobody knows. Yeah,
a first round knockout though in your debut, like I say. And by 2013, you were already 15-0, and that's when, of course, you got your shot at the world title against the champion Billy Dib. March the 1st, 2013. Tell me what you remember about that night. A split decision win.
Oh, this was very interesting, because my managers call me and say, "Okay, we have 5 weeks preparation, but it's title fight. You understand, it's not too much for preparation." But I say, "Okay, let me thinking about that. Maybe 1, 2, 3 days I will let you know what I think." And maybe I thought a lot about that, but maybe next day I call my manager. A lot of my friends say me, "Let's do it. You will lose nothing, but it's title fight." I say, "Yes, correct. It will be perfect." And I call my manager and say, "Let's do it." And we did.
And how did it feel to become world champion?
Oh, actually, it's like never before. You feel this moment when said at the new champion. This is moment. I don't know. Maybe you never feel it like that, because I don't know. It's once a life. Can be like that. You feel very, very, very perfect. I don't know how to say it for sure. Nobody knows probably, but because it was very amazing time for me. I had more title fights next, but it wasn't like first title.
Yeah,
it was very perfect. Yeah.
And like I say, it ended in a split decision win. Obviously, you were the underdog going into the fight. You mentioned you didn't have lots of time to prepare, just under 5 weeks. Just talk me through the fight, because obviously you had to fight stronger, fight better. You had to dig deep like you hadn't done before in a professional ring to get the win.
It wasn't easy fight. It was a difficult fight for me, but I felt very perfect in that moment, and I thought I won without some problem, because I feel perfectly in the fight. But split decision it's not my opinion, but judges gave their decision, but it is what it is. But anyway, I won that fight, and thanks God for that.
Absolutely. And again, you defended your belt one time against Mauricio Munoz before giving Billy Dib a rematch. Now, obviously, you said it there, you didn't really agree in the first fight. It should have been a split decision. You don't agree with that. So you give him the rematch, you drop him in the 6th round, and then you knock him out in the 9th round. How did it feel to finally close the book, if you like. Now it's no longer close. You knocked him out. That's it. Finished.
Yes, actually, I deserve everybody that first fight I won for sure. That's why I deserve in second fight in rematch. I knocked him down in 6th round probably, and he and stopped the fight in 9th round. So it was still no bad fight. Billy Deep was not bad, but actually I did what I have to do because I prepared very well. Distant training camp, good sparring partners, good preparation, good everything, and I deserve that. I deserve the win that fight.
Absolutely. And like I say, you then defended against Alexander Miskachian. Then you drew against Jason Velez. Now, there were some very different scorecards on that night against Jason Velez. One judge gave it to you by quite a few points. The other judge gave it to him. The other judge had it a draw. How do you feel that fight should have been scored? Do you feel like you were unlucky to get a draw against Velez?
Actually, fight against Velez, I think Velez think that he lost that fight because after decision, he come to me and say, "Congratulations, you won this fight. Thank you so much." Actually, nothing bad for Velez because it was good fight. I won that fight, I believe, and he come after fight and said that he lost. Everything good. I keep my title and moving forward. So actually everything good about this fight.
And then you came to London to box Lee Selby. You were beaten for the first time in your career. You also lost your title. It ended with an 8th round technical decision because your right eye was severely cut. Tell me about that fight because that didn't look like the Evgeny Gradovich that we seen before that fight.
Actually, I can't tell you about it because you're from England. I'm just kidding. Yes, actually, it was. I don't know. For me, it was good fight. I feel good, and I didn't think I lost that fight. But anyway, any day, it was England and Billy Deep from England. But Billy Deep, Lee Selby, yeah. But nothing bad about that. I respect him, and he probably deserves the win. So nothing bad about that. But my opinion, I won that fight. But it is what it is.
And obviously after
life going.
Sorry, go on. Sorry, go on, Evgeny.
No, it's okay. No, it's okay, good.
Now, after that, obviously, you had 2 wins over Aldemar Silva and Jesus Galicia, but they were split decision wins and majority decision wins. At that point, Evgeny, did you perhaps feel like maybe you were on the decline, perhaps? Because, you had the draw against Velez, but you should have won. You lost the technical decision against Selby. Then you get a split decision and a majority decision. Did you feel like maybe your best days were behind you at that point, or not?
No. Probably that fight it wasn't perfectly for preparation, something like that. Because I fought probably different countries. And I prepared one country and moved to different countries, maybe not acclimatization very well. And, I didn't feel perfect in that fight. But anyway, yeah. After that, I went to Russia. My 2 last fight was in Russia. Yes, first fight was probably Eusebio Cejo. I came 1 week before fight, and I don't know. I know everybody can say I'm not right and something like that, but I feel acclimatization was not very well because 1 week after when you travel from United States to Russia, it's very small time, and I won that fight, but it was probably split decision. Yeah, but my last fight, I prepared in Russia for 8 weeks, and it was perfect fight for me. My last fight.
Yeah,
my
Hugo
last
Berrio,
fight.
that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned, you missed out there, obviously, the fight against Oscar Valdez. Is that a bad memory looking back now?
No, it's okay. It's not a problem.
What did you think of that fight there? Because obviously Valdez is, he's a featherweight, but he could really punch for a featherweight. Probably the hardest puncher in the division, perhaps.
Yes. It was a bad fight for me actually. He had good moments. I had good moments, but he knocked me down. Probably it was fourth round, but I didn't feel some dizzy or something like that. I stand and I feel good for keep going to fight, but judge stopped the fight. I disagree about it, but anyway,
yeah,
it is what it is. I just wish Oscar Valdez only best thing because he great fighter anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
It's my opinion. Yeah.
And like you said, you had the two fights, the two wins, the win against Osejo and Berrio, and then obviously after that, Evgeny, you were forced to retire from boxing due to...
No, actually no. I didn't stop after that. I prepared for next fight.
Okay, tell me.
I prepared for next fight. Yeah, it was mandatory probably for IBF eliminator.
Okay.
For super bantamweight, because after Oscar Valdez, I moved to
122.
weight division, 122, and I already won title. Last fight I won two intercontinental titles, WBO and WBA, and next fight I had to fight some guy from Australia again. Sorry, I forget his name. It was mandatory for IBF eliminator.
Oh,
I prepared for fight.
Was it one of the Maloney brothers?
No, not Maloney. It's maybe Ireland or he from Australia. He already lost his title.
Is it TJ Doheny?
TJ Doheny, yes. I prepare for that fight. We have to fight in Russia. I prepare probably around 5 maybe weeks already, and my old problem, my vision. So I begin feel much worse for my vision. When I prepare for fight, it's getting worse and worse and worse because it's big, a lot of training, and I feel not very comfortable. And I came to my coach and said, probably no more for me, because I know for me it was difficult decision, but I have to, because life is going on, and I have to feel perfect, good for my family, for everybody who with me. And I said my coach probably no more, because I feel not perfectly already.
See, it's obviously such a sad ending, because again you were in a position to make another run, and no one knows how good you may have been at super bantamweight at 122.
Yeah, absolutely. But I actually, I didn't feel my weight. My weight don't worry me, and I feel perfectly. I thought I can win. I can get title for super bantamweight, but it is what it is.
And Evgeny,
I can't tell something more.
Do you kind of, perhaps not now because it's been a couple of years, but do you miss boxing? Do you ever kind of feel sad that you can't box again?
Every day I wake and think I will be back, but no, I can't do this. My wife said, if you will be back to boxing, I will divorce with you. Because she take care about me, about our family. So no need risk for that.
Well, the brilliant thing, obviously, is that you are in the history books, and no one can tell you that you're not. You've won a world title. You've had the big fights. I want to ask you just a couple of quick questions, Evgeny, just to finish it all off. Who would you say is the best fighter that you've ever shared a ring with in the professional game?
Juan Manuel Marquez, my favorite fighter. Yeah.
Did you ever get to do any rounds with him at all?
No. He's actually he finished career in 147. I can't spar him. Yeah, he began from 126. It's good. It's my weight division, but.
And who is the best fighter that you have had a fight against?
The best fighter?
Yeah.
Probably it was Oscar Valdez.
Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah, he was the best fighter who I fought.
And what about the best fighter that you ever sparred? Because obviously you was in that Robert Garcia boxing gym. There was lots and lots of guys coming through that gym, brilliant fighters. Were you there the same time as the likes of Maidana and all those guys?
Yeah, actually, I didn't spar Maidana, but I sparred Mikey Garcia, who right now one of the best fighters in the world. So.
Brilliant fighter.
Yeah, it was a great sparring session for me, for him too. So when he prepared to fight, when I prepared to fight, so it was perfect time for me, for him. And we always remember that sparring session, so it was perfect. I got a lot from Mikey.
Is he the best fighter you ever sparred?
Probably, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'm a massive fan of Mikey. He's an incredible fighter.
He's good fighter. He's good. He's a great person. Like
I know. Yeah, he's a wonderful person. I actually thought he was going to beat Errol Spence. I really did.
You know.
Oh. But I want to ask you, Evgeny, what are you up to nowadays? Now that you haven't boxed for a couple of years, I know that I can hear your kids in the background. It sounds really fun. Are you enjoying yourself? Are you enjoying life?
Yeah, I'm enjoying myself. I enjoy my family. You know, it's the best time in the world. My family is... I very love my family, so...
Excellent.
Yes, I miss about boxing, but it is what it is. My manager, Egis Klimas, gave me a work here in Oxnard, California, where I live. So, life is going on, and I am happy.
Absolutely.
Anyway, any day, yeah.
And just finally, Evgeny, I want to ask you this question. I like to ask this question to everyone that we speak to from different countries. If I asked you who is your favourite fighter from the UK in history, who is your favourite British fighter?
Okay, let me think, please. From UK, difficult question.
I can help you with some names if you want.
It will be perfect if you can.
So you've got Joe Calzaghe, you've got Ricky Hatton, you've got Lennox Lewis, you've got Prince Nassim Hamed. Those guys, people always say.
Yeah, you that's what you say. I want to say maybe Nassim Hamed because it's same weight division.
Yeah.
But Lennox Lewis was the best fighter from United Kingdom.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, phenomenal fighter.
He is still good person who I see in some boxing channels. He's still feeling good and he looks like he can fight still. He can still fight.
And Evgeny, just
but Ricky Hatton is perfectly fighter. I think so because I like fight for fight. Some great boxing, but Ricky Hatton was like a warrior, great warrior. He just want to fight, don't think about some defense or something like that. That's why I like him too.
Evgeny, just finally, obviously, I'm sure you know the UK boxing fans are massive, massive boxing fans. They love boxing. What is your final message to anyone that's listening to this interview from the UK that has been a fan of yours over the years?
Oh, actually, I wish everybody all the best, Thank you, everybody who remember who is the Mexican-Russian, Evgeny Gradovich, for... thanks a lot for all boxing fans for who like me, who hate me. Anyway, it's perfectly. And all people in the world, I wish all the best.
Excellent. Evgeny, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure speaking with you, my friend. I wish you lots of happiness. Have a great Christmas.
Okay,
a happy New Year, and I'm sure we'll speak again sometime soon.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Very. It feels like a little bit back to my boxing career. Thank you so much.
Okay, and this wraps up episode 217 of the BoxHard Podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. Ayaz Sumra has been his usual self, Ayaz Sumra. A massive thank you to our two guests on this week's show, the top super lightweight world contender, Mr. Mykal Fox, and the former IBF Featherweight World Champion, Mr. Evgeny Gradovich. Bit of a random interview, that one. I like to throw in a random name here and there. There's no more news to mention. There's no predictions, unfortunately, this week. Hopefully we will see that return real soon. I just want to end by thanking you all once again for listening to this week's podcast. Remember to tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. Please leave us a review on iTunes if you do get the chance. They really do mean a lot, the reviews. And we shall see you all again next week. Enjoy your weekends.